जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा 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 जो मुष्पाद परमहंस प्रदक्ष अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमती स्वयं श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। ISKCON संस्थापक शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जो मुष्पाद परमहंस प्रदक्ष अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्तिवेदांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जो मुष्पाद ठाकुर केशवदास बाबू महाराज की जय। जो मुष्पाद सच्चिदानंद शिल भक्तिविनोद ठाकुर की जय। जो मुष्पाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबू महाराज की जय। ऐसे रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जी गोपाल भट्टदास अपना षट गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य श्रीदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कोई श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत दादा शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री राधा कृष्ण गौर गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिधाम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महेश कृष्ण भगवान की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। शिवधाम धाम की जय। गंगामयी की जय। यमुनामयी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णवंत की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, इस्कॉन रत्न गुरुवंत की जय, समावेत भक्तवंत की जय, गौरव प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the Assembled. All glories to the Assembled. All glories to the Assembled. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada की जय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वती व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. अष्टप्रायेषु पत्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Hare Krishna. So I would like to welcome you all to this Tuesday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 15, Text 32. Munehu chuhu kova mihaitya bhagavat parichar yayochais taddharminam nivasatam vishamah svabhavaha tasmin prashanta purushe gata vigrahe vam kovatmavat kuhakayo parishaikaniyah. Muneya uchuhu ko vamihaitya bhagavat paricharyayo chais taddharminam nivasatam vishamah svabhavaha tasmin prashanta purushe gata vigrahe vam kovatmavat kuhakayo parishaikaniyah. Muneya uchuhu को वामिहैत्य भगवत् परिचर्ययोच्चैः तद्धर्मिणां निवसतां विषमः स्वभावः तस्मिन् प्रशान्त पुरुषे गत विग्रहे वां को वात्मवत् कुहकयो परिशैकनीयः. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The sages said, who are these two persons who have developed such a discordant mentality, even though they are posted in the service of the Lord in the highest position and are expected to have developed the same qualities as the Lord? How are these two persons living in Vaikuntha? Where is the possibility of an enemy is coming into this kingdom of God? The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no enemy. Who could be envious of him? Probably these two persons are impostors. Therefore, they suspect others to be like themselves. The difference between the inhabitants of a Vaikuntha planet and those of a material planet is that in Vaikuntha, all the residents engage in the service of the Lord himself and are equipped with all his good qualities. It has been analyzed by great personalities that when a conditioned soul is liberated and becomes a devotee, about 79% of all the good qualities of the Lord develop in his person. Therefore, in the Vaikuntha world, there is no question of enmity between the Lord and the residents. Here in this material world, the citizens may be inimical to the chief executives or head of the state, but in Vaikuntha, there is no such mentality. One is not allowed to enter Vaikuntha Loka. One is not allowed to enter Vaikuntha unless he has completely developed the good qualities. Hare Krishna. One is not allowed to enter Vaikuntha unless he has completely developed the good qualities. The basic principle of goodness is to accept subordination to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sages therefore were surprised to see that the two doormen who checked them from entering the palace were not exactly like the residents of Vaikuntha Loka. It may be said that a doorman's duty is to determine who should be allowed to enter the palace and who should not. But this is not relevant in this matter because no one is allowed to enter the Vaikuntha planets unless he has developed 100% this mentality of devotion service to the Supreme Lord. No enemy of the Lord can enter Vaikuntha Loka. The Kumaras concluded that the only reason for the doormen checking them was the doormen themselves were impostors. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruhe Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhuktale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapatakamalam Shri Guran Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganargunatanvitam Tam Sjeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalalita Shri Vishakanvitam Shcha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Saptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shubhani Sute Devi Pranamani Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kapasnidubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Moham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Hangedi Pada Muhammad Deshi Baram Dharna Parmandi Madhav Shri Chaitanya Mishra. Hare Krishna. So the sages said, who are these two persons who have developed such a discordant mentality, even though they are posted in the service of the Lord in the highest position and are expected to have developed the same qualities as the Lord? How are these two persons living in Vaikuntha? Where is the possibility of an enemy coming into the kingdom of God? The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no enemy. Who could be envious of him? Probably these two persons are impostors, therefore they suspect others to be like themselves. So here, in this particular sloka, there is a mention about the difference of inhabitants between a Vaikuntha planet and a material planet, maybe like ours. The Vaikuntha planet, all the residents engage in the service of the Lord and are equipped with all the good qualities. So, actually the Lord is complete, he is perfect, and he is expert in his dealings with all the personalities, all the living entities, whether they be human being or demigods or even other living entities. And he's very, very fair in his dealing. And he does what you call multitasking in the corporate world today, which we can't do. So in this particular pastime, there are a lot of lessons to learn. Actually, before we go into that, it is said that once these two doormen were guarding the Lord, when the Lord wanted to rest as Lord Narayana, so he told the two doormen, they were the same Jaya and Vijaya, and he told them that I'm going to be taking some rest for some time, so don't allow anybody which may disturb. So normally the Lord does not sleep, he's awake all the time, but somehow the pastime had to be performed to teach us many lessons from this particular pastime. And at the same time, lessons had to be taught to the four Kumaras, the two doormen, and everyone. So they were standing outside the door when they were seriously guarding. That is when it is said that Mother Lakshmi came and she wanted to go inside. And actually she wanted to go and massage the Lord so that the Lord can get a good rest. But the doormen stopped. They said, no, my Lord has told not to send anybody. And there was a discussion. And then this discussion went on, but Lakshmi asked whether it is your Lord or my Lord, and they said, he's my Lord. So thereafter, Lakshmi left, and then later she came to see the Lord as Narayana, and she narrated the whole incident. And she said that, how can I be stopped when I'm coming here for your service? So the Lord just smiled, and she told the Lord that these two doormen have to be punished. And the only punishment is that they have to be sent to the material world. So this is a background of the pastime that happened. So what happens is here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments. Now the doormen actually had a desire. They were thinking that the Lord has got a lot of rasas. Now the Lord enjoys various rasas with his devotees. And he does not enjoy rasas with us, but he enjoys the rasas with the devotees. So they were thinking that the Lord has also got the skill of chivalry. That means chivalry means the desire to fight. But whom will the Lord fight with? So they thought, okay, we may be the most suitable person for that, personalities for that. So they had just this thought in their mind. And the Kumaras were all very young and the boys, and they came. And the Lord had to teach them also some lessons, which they will understand. So they entered Vaikuntha at 6 gates, they were not stopped. But the 7th gate, when they were stopped, they got very angry. And that's where they said that, who are these two doormen? they look like imposters. Where is the possibility of an enemy coming into this kingdom of God? The Lord has no enemy, because normally what happens is that when there is an enemy, then when there is enviousness between two living entities, then there is enmity also, like we see in the material world. We might become envious of somebody, and over a period of time what happens is that we become his enemy or he becomes our enemy, and in the process both of us become enemies of each other. But in the spiritual world there should be nothing like that. So they were thinking that the Vaikuntha should not have any such thing as an enemy for the Lord, but who could be envious of the Lord? So this is how they were thinking. And they thought maybe these two doormen are imposters. Imposter means those who pretend to be what they are doing. So for example, here they are doormen. So they thought these two are not doormen, but actually they pretend to be doormen. So the point is that the difference between the Vaikuntha planets and the material planets is that the residents in all the Vaikuntha planets engage in the service of the Lord for the pleasure of the Lord. And so they are equipped with all the good qualities, and they engage in their service for the pleasure of the Lord, not for our pleasure or their pleasure. Ultimately, it is the Lord who has to be pleased. So they are always doing everything possible, trying their level best to please the Lord. So in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a reference on the qualities of on devotion service, in which once again, I think I've lost that verse. I'll come back to that a little later. So one should not enter a Vaikuntha planet unless and until he doesn't have the quality. But basically in Vaikuntha, all are empowered with such qualities. And the basic principle is that one should accept subordination to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which normally we living entities don't accept. We want to be independent from the Supreme Lord. And that is why we are here in this material world. But in the spiritual world, there is nothing like that. So the doormen wanted to prevent the four Kumaras who were wanting to see the Lord, because they thought that these Kumaras, how can they come like this, naked and enter? There should be some proper etiquette. And they were a little more concerned about the security of the Lord more than what it should be. Like, for example, if you see even the previous pastime which I narrated in the beginning of the class, Mother Lakshmi has got a right to enter the palace of the Lord at any point of time. So she cannot be restricted. But they went by the rules, by the book, and did not consider who is to be treated how. And the same way it is said that after all, children, Kumaras were children, and children cannot be stopped. This is how they were thinking, the Leela says. So the entire pastime took place to bring the four Kumaras and the two doormen to a certain level of humility. Because in a devotee's life, humility is a very, very important factor, particularly for practice of spiritual life. Otherwise, it's very difficult to progress. And the most important thing is that in a place like Vaikuntha, they were concerned about the Lord's security, whereas there should not be any security concern at all in Vaikuntha. So these are many, many reasons that are given by Srila Krishna Chakravarti Thakura. And they were thinking, the Kumaras were thinking that if they had told they had to be stopped, they should have been stopped at the first gate, second gate, third gate, but all the 6 gates, nobody stopped. Why only at the 7th? So Kumaras were thinking like that. And as far as the doormen are concerned, it is said that the doormen should also judge from experience. So with Mother Lakshmi also, they didn't behave properly. And here when they stopped the Kumaras actually cursed the two doormen. And the Kumaras said that the doormen acted like enemies of the Lord, because the Lord is always receptive to the devotees, to his devotees. In this respect, there is a quote in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the teachings of Lord Kapila, where he says about devotional service. He says, I am present in every living entity as the super soul. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. So we must understand very important sloka and good points are there. I am present in every living entity as the super soul. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. That means the point is that somebody may be worshipping the deity as a ritual in a temple or at home. But if someone has no regard for other living entities, where the super soul is present in every living entity, then this worship of the deity is just an imitation. Because one should have reached that purity of that consciousness when one is worshipping the deity. So if a person is not considering the importance of the other living entities, then it is said that it's a devotional service in the mode of ignorance. And it is the lowest stage of devotional service. That's why it is said that the devotee should understand everything in relationship with Krishna. I mean, a devotee means at least who is chanting some rounds and practicing the regulating principles. And when one does these things, then automatically one realizes that everything in this material world, or maybe in the spiritual world also, or not maybe it is there in spiritual also, everything has got its relationship with Krishna. Nothing is independent of Krishna. Even we are dependent on Krishna. We are not independent of Krishna. To serve means to serve the Lord with that understanding. Yes, everything is connected to the Lord. So when we understand that everybody is connected to the Lord, then everybody starts thinking that now I must do service to increase the pleasure of the Lord, not my pressure, not my pleasure. But if someone does not know this relationship with Krishna, he should try to start engaging in service. And as one engages, Krishna gives the intelligence also. And the next sloka, it says that one who worships the deity of Godhead in the temples but does not know that the Supreme Lord as Paramatma is situated in every living entity's heart must be in ignorance and is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes. So here actually is a clear this thing that there are 8,400,000 different species of life. And the Lord is present in everyone, whether it be a demigod or a human being or an animal or a bird, whatever it is. In every living entity, the Lord is there as Paramatma. But one should know if you realize the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living entity. So if a person has not realized, that means he is not seeing even the Paramatma feature in one's own self, whereas the Lord is present and he is the one who is guiding every living entity, including us. So in that case, it is said that one who does not realize but continues to worship the Lord in the temple or a church or a mosque, it is like offering butter into ashes rather than fire. See, normally when a sacrifice is done, one offers butter into the sacrificial fire, not into the ashes. So, but if somebody does this worship as a ritual, more than anything, or not out of love, then it is as good as pouring fuel into the ashes, not into the fire. So that is why it is said that the devotional service for such living personalities are in the mode of ignorance. So the Kumaras thought that who are these people who are there, don't know how to behave themselves, who are there to stop me? The Kumaras were also having a little bit of ego in them. The doormen also had a little bit of ego in them, and the thing had to be sorted out. So the Lord performed this pastime to correct the ego of the Kumaras and the doormen also. Now, what the Kumaras did was, they cursed these two doormen who are actually Brahmanas, and Brahmanas are not supposed to be cursed. So the devotional service is a right of everyone. One should not stop the other's devotional service, even if the other person makes a mistake. To curse someone, it's said, is a very great offense. In the sense, all living entities, particularly in this material world, have been sent by the Lord to reform our situation and become devotees of the Lord. And cursing somebody to take birth in demoniac families and so forth is a sort of a big offense. So it is said that both the doormen as well as Kumaras had some ego, and the Lord wanted to correct that. Now devotees have different rasas, and like I mentioned, and the Lord tries to enjoy these rasas with his devotees. And it so happened that after the Kumaras cursed the doormen, they were also repentant. Oh, we should not have cursed the doormen. And the doormen were also repentant. Oh, we should not have done this, because after all they are children. They have come naked, so they are innocent. So the Lord corrected the ego of both the Kumaras as well as the doormen. Now, what is it for us from this particular pastime is that we are so conditioned that we tend to see everything. It is said that in the material world, we see everything within the four walls. It is we who build these walls, and we try to see everything within these four walls, whereas one should try to see beyond that. And also not that, it is said that in the ancient times, people, or whether it be on the level of doormen or the Kumaras, they used to talk very pleasantly and do things with a proper attitude and behavior. So it is possible that many times we may go through difficult and complicated situations like this, but one should be very, very patient instead of trying to pick up an argument or trying to curse somebody and things like that. So these are lessons that we have to learn from these pastimes. We'll go through a few examples to show us how the Lord is taking so much of an austerity and trouble to teach we conditioned living entities various lessons. So it is said that we might go through situations like complicated situations, and sometimes either we may fall a victim to unwanted gossips, rumors, etc. And in the process, we might tend to do things that we should not have done. So Jaya Vijaya also realized the fault, and the Kumaras also realized the fault, and they both became humble. And the Lord, after that, awarded devotional service to both of them. Now, what to talk of us as human beings in this material world? Srimad Bhagavatam gives many examples where even demigods, who are supposed to be devotees of the Lord on a higher platform than us, conditioned living entities like us, they also have a lot of false ego. And there are many pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam which show that what we should learn from these pastimes. So we'll go through a couple of them to understand the situation so that we can correct ourselves. Now, one example is about Indra's pride in the 10th canto, 24th chapter, as to how Lord Krishna crushed the pride of Indra. Actually, Indra was making arrangement for a grand sacrifice for worship of the rain god. So when Krishna saw that actually Nanda Maharaj was making all these arrangements along with the other cowherd men, and for satisfying Indra. So when he inquired from his father, Nanda Maharaj explained that the rain given by Indra enables all the living entities to maintain their life, and therefore this sacrifice could be executed to satisfy him. So Nanda Maharaj was trying to convince Krishna that actually it is only because of rain that we are all surviving, so we must perform this sacrifice. But Krishna responded saying, no, it is because of karma that living entities take birth in a certain body. True, which is true, because someone gets the position as Indra, someone gets as a human being, and so forth. So it is actually karma which is our enemy, our friend, our guru, or our Lord. And Indra can do nothing to alter these things. Indra cannot change our happiness or distress, for he himself is bound by his karmic reactions, which is true. And Srimad Bhagavatam explains that the material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance bring about creation, maintenance, and destruction of this world. So then Krishna said that the clouds give forth rain when they are impelled by the mode of passion, and the cowherds prosper by protecting the cows. Further, Krishna said, the cowherd's proper residence is in the forest and on the hills. Therefore, you should offer worship to the cows, the brahmanas, and the Govardhan hill. So actually, when Krishna prevented this particular sacrifice, Indra started pouring heavy thunder, clouds, and all those things, thunder and lightning and all those things. But the Lord offered shelter to everybody, and in this way, the Lord taught Indra and corrected his ego. Now, the point is that Indra is supposed to be the king of heaven and he's a demigod. And they are supposed to be worshipping Krishna. But the thing is, Indra became puffed up of his position. So that is why it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when one gets opulent, one becomes puffed up. And which is true for us also, not only for Indra. Now we will go to another example. And Krishna in that particular pastime concluded that everyone should offer obeisances to him because Krishna assumed the form of Govardhan. And he started accepting all the offering of sacrifices given by the cowherd men Vrindavan. The next pastime that we will go is about Brahma, Lord Brahma. Now Brahma was actually, when Krishna was playing with the cowherd boys, they're all small children. Krishna was having fun with them and he would have lunch with them together. So Brahma was thinking, what is this? These boys are all 6 years old. And how come Krishna is, who is supposed to be the personality of Godhead, is having lunch with all these boys and all those things? So Brahma wanted to test Krishna. And what he did was, when they were having their lunch, the cowherd boys said that let us go and see where the calves have gone, because normally they go with the cows and the calves. And thus then the Lord said, no, you don't come, you be here. I will go and look for the calves. So Brahma took away all the calves, and he took away not only the calves, and he took away the cowherd boys also and kept them in a secluded place. Krishna could understand. When Krishna went there, he could see that no one was there, and Krishna could understand that actually it is Lord Brahma who has kidnapped all these cowherd boys and the calves. And he could understand that Brahma has performed this trick. So what Krishna did was, Krishna expanded himself in so many calves and cowherd boys as before. And he performed this particular pastime. And it is said that during this particular pastime, the mothers of the cowherd boys became more attached to their children and the cows, because actually they didn't realize, and it was all because they were all Krishna's expansions. And it was Baladev who observed this particular thing after a year. And then when he inquired from Krishna, what has happened? Krishna explained to Balaram this, what has happened. And Brahma, finally Krishna wanted to teach. And Brahma was playing with all these cowherd boys who were all his expansions. And he was, when he had kept the cowherd boys and the calves in one place. And when he came here to this particular place, he saw Krishna playing with all these cowherd men and calves. And he went to the place where he had hidden them. There also they were there. So that is when he realized that Krishna has played a trick on Brahma himself. And this is how Brahma's illusion was removed. So that means not only we, sometimes, many times Indra, even Lord Brahma, their ego can bring them to be a part of these pastimes. And in the process of performing these pastimes, actually the Lord is teaching us many things. The one more pastime of Indra is that Mother Earth approached Lord Krishna and she wanted Narakasura to be killed. So Krishna entered Narakasura's palace. At that time, he killed him and he found 16,100 young women. Now, as soon as they caught sight of the Lord, now they all decided that only a personality like this can be as our husband, and they wanted to accept him as the Lord as their husband. So the Lord sent them to Dwarka with a lot of treasure, and then went with Queen Satyabhama also to the abode of Indra. Now Satyabhama wanted Parijata tree. Now, as you all may be knowing, this Parijata tree is a very, it gives a very nice fragrance. Even here we see, though they say it is not the original Parijata, but if this Parijata that we see can give such fragrance, we must understand what may be the fragrance of the original Parijata. So Satyabhama wanted that Parijata tree which was planted by Indra in his abode. So the Lord went and picked up the Satyabhama. On Satyabhama's request, Lord went to the heavenly planet and put the Parijata tree in the back of Garuda, and he came back to his palace and he planted the tree. Now Indra got upset again. Now actually it is said that Indra had originally come to Lord Krishna offering obeisances and begging him to kill Narakasura. But what happened was, afterwards, when his business was accomplished, he started quarreling with the Lord. So it is said the demigods are prone to become angry when they become intoxicated with pride in their opulences. Now we must understand from this that if demigods can become proud because of their opulences and become intoxicated with anger, why not living entities like us in this earthly planet, which is true, which holds true for us also. So this is how the Lord then performed this pastime. He defeated Indra, and Indra realized that everything is meant for the pleasure of the Lord. So the point is that everything that is there in this material world is has its relationship with the Lord, and everything has to be used in the service of the Lord for the pleasure of the Lord. So we have discussed some pastimes about Indra and Brahma. Now Arjuna was present physically along with the Lord when the Lord performed his pastime. So we'll go through this pastime and try to understand how Arjuna also became proud. This is in the 10th canto, 89th chapter. Now, one time it is said in Dwarka, a Brahmana's wife gave birth to a son. But as soon as the newborn son, the son was born, he died as soon as he touched this ground. So the Brahmana took the corpse and placed it at the door of King Ugrasena. And then he said that these days the rulers are addicted to sense pleasure. This is what has caused my son's death, because there is some discrepancy in the execution of the ruler's duties. Because in the earlier days, Satyuga, of course, as the ages started to progress, everything started to deteriorate. But the earlier ages, the understanding was that if something is wrong, it is basically because of the ruling of the ruler. So this particular Brahmana put all the blame for his son's death to King Ugrasena. Now this happened to the Brahmana not once, not twice, 7, 8 times this happened. So at that time, what happened was this Brahmana, Arjuna was there in the palace. And every time the Brahmana's son died, he sang the same song of lamentation, and he left the body in the Ugrasena's palace. At that time, at the 8th time, Arjuna was there, Lord was there, hearing the Brahmana's lamentation. So at that time, Arjuna tells the Brahmana, "What is the matter, my dear Brahmana? Isn't there some lowly member of the royal matter to whom you can at least stand before and bow yourself with your hands and all those things?" To which the Brahmana said, that this is what has happened, and 8 times, 7 times, this is the 8th time that has happened. So Arjuna said at that time, he said, now Arjuna, because he was there, he heard the Brahmana chastising, and Arjuna said that I will protect your next child, don't worry. To which the Brahmana replied, neither Sankarshana, nor Vasudeva, nor Padyumna, none of them, or not even Aniruddha, could save my sons. Then why do you simply try to attempt something that you cannot perform? We cannot take you seriously. So Arjuna said, I am neither Lord Sankarshana, nor am I Krishna, nor even Krishna's son. Rather, I am Arjuna, a wielder of the Gandiva bow. So Arjuna also became little puffed up because he thought himself to be the wielder of the Gandiva bow, and so he can do anything. He said, do not minimize my ability, which was good enough to satisfy even Lord Shiva. I will bring back your sons. He said that even if I have to defeat death in the battlefield, that is, even if I have to defeat Yafaraj, I will defeat him and bring him back all your sons. So thus convinced by Arjuna, the Brahmana went home, and what happened was, the 9th time, when his wife was pregnant, he told Arjuna that now my wife is pregnant, please protect my child from death. So Arjuna, when he came to know about this, he touched pure water for offering obeisances to Lord, and started reciting the mantras. Then he strung his Gandhiva bow and he made like a fence covering the child. And then thinking that that will be protect the Brahmana's child. So Brahmana's wife gave birth to the 9th child. And then what happened was, just as the child was born, immediately from the top, the child left his body. So the Brahmana then derided Arjuna in front of Lord Krishna. He says, just see how foolish I was to put my faith in this bragging of this eunuch. I mean, Arjuna at one point of the time had to perform the past of a eunuch. So whether neither when Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Rama nor Keshava can save a person, who else can protect? To hell with this person's bragging. I mean, one who becomes and talks about himself, becoming proud. So the Brahmana said that, gave lot of insults on Arjuna. So Arjuna then gave a promise that I will go to the abode of Yamaraj and bring back your child. And the Brahmana was still not convinced, and he started to criticize Arjuna. To which Arjuna said that if I fail to do this, I will put myself into the fire and commit. I mean, Arjuna wanted to commit suicide. Now, Krishna was present there, and he wanted to show to the Brahmanas, yes, Arjuna can protect because the Lord does not let his devotee down. So Krishna said, okay, Arjuna, come, let us go and bring these children. So that is when the Lord takes Arjuna through all the material worlds, to the spiritual sky, and then to the Vaikuntha planets. And there, before that, they see Yamaraj. That is why they said that when the Lord saw Yamaraj, after they passed Yamaraj, this thing also, they went to the abode of Mahavishnu. Actually, in this particular pastime, the Lord was, and Arjuna, when they went to the palace of Mahavishnu, the Lord himself offered obeisance to Mahavishnu. Now, Mahavishnu is an expansion, Lord Mahavishnu is an expansion of Krishna. But the Lord showed by example that everyone has to offer obeisances, and he was offering respect to Lord as Mahavishnu. So, Arjuna also followed suit. Now, what happened was that Mahavishnu tells Arjuna that because I wanted to see you both, I brought these children of that Brahmana here. So now you go and take the children back to the material world and give them to the Brahmana. So that is how then Arjuna and Krishna, they come back to the material world and return back the children. Now the point is that, Mahavishnu tells, I brought the Brahmana sons here because I wanted to see the two of you. My expansions who have descended to the earth to say the principles of religion. As soon as you finish killing the demons who burn the earth, quickly come back here to me. So Mahavishnu wanted to see Lord Krishna and Arjuna together. So this is how this particular pastime was performed. Now, if you look at this pastime also, Arjuna at one point became very, very, very proud, and the Lord wanted to correct that. At the same time, the Lord as Krishna also showed to the whole world that even if it is his own expansion, he must respect and offer obeisances. So this is what the Lord taught. So before I conclude the class, there is a very nice example in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Katunga Maharaj was a very, very powerful warrior. You might have heard about this pastime many times, but we must understand why. He fought on behalf of the demigods because he was a very great warrior. The demigods asked him to fight against the demons. So he fought and they all won the battle. The demigods won the battle. So the demigods wanted to give some benediction to Katunga Maharaj, and they asked him that we want to give you some benediction. Please ask whatever you want, we will give you. So they were prepared to offer all opulences, everything. But he just said, tell me how much time is left for me to leave my body. And they said, just one moment. So immediately he said, I want to go back to the earthly planet. And he came back to the earthly planet, worshipped the deity form of went to his altar and worshipped the deity form. And then it is said that he went back to the spiritual world. Now, what is in it from this pastime? The point is that he was a very opulent king, not that he was less short of anything. And the demigods were prepared to offer him all the opulences, but he did not want that. He asked, how much of time is left in my life? And when they said 1 moment in them is many years, thousands of years, the earthly planet. Immediately he came back to the earthly planet, went to his palace, it is said, the Acharya explained that he went to the altar, worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he left his body. So he went back to the spiritual world. Now, this is what is our constitutional position. We are all servants of the Lord, but due to our false ego, we have developed this enviousness of the Lord. And over a period of time, many have become atheists. And many, though may have been in the position of demigods, what happens is that when, as I narrated from the previous pastimes, when one gets some material opulence, they become puffed up. And once they become puffed up, then what happens is the other things automatically come. Lust, anger, greed. As we saw in Indira's case, he became angry on Krishna. We saw in Arjuna's case, he became proud. And in the case of the Brahmana's case, of leaving his sons leaving the body, Arjuna became very, very proud. So this lust, anger, greed, these are things that can enter into any living entity at any point of time, unless one is firmly fixed in devotional service. And the Lord performs these types of pastimes to teach conditional living entities like us. Yes, we must always be performing devotional service. Srila Prabhupada said, devotional service is so strong that if one reaches 75% steadiness, that is okay. Less than that, he said that one may become vulnerable. Because what happens is that if you are not firmly fixed in devotional service, we may become vulnerable to any of these things like lust, anger, and greed. And then that can bring us down from whatever be a demigod like Indra, or we might be even Brahma, or we might be a ghost in a hellish planet. We don't know. So that is why the Lord tells Arjuna, Brahma Vona Loka. That means all the planets in the material world, whether it is from Brahma Loka to the lowest planets in the hellish listing, they are all planets of misery. And taking a birth in any form, whether it is opulent or non-opulent, is only a sort of a misery for us, because there is suffering in all these planets in some way or the other. So one should try and see that one practices devotional service. As I mentioned, at least up to 75%. If we are fixed, then there is a chance of going back to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada said that one can go in 1 moment. You don't require many lifetimes. You can go back in 1 moment, but one has to be fixed in devotional service. So I thought that narrating these examples, we can understand the importance of human form of life. It is very, very important, where one can understand one's constitutional position. If you become a demigod, we may not understand. And if you are in the hellish planet, there's so much of suffering that we may not even time to think of performing devotional service. Whereas in the human form of life, it is very, very possible to hear and chant, hear and chant, hear and chant. That is the only way one can become free from the illusory energy of the Lord. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. Next few minutes, I can take some questions or comments on today's subject matter.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the class.
Thank you very much
for narrating so many examples about pride.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions? Any comments?
So, Prabhuji, even like in the Vaikuntha planet, like if like Jaya Vijaya, they also like little bit of pride came into them. Right?
See, actually, Acharya has explained, Vishnu Chaturya Thakur explained that it is not that pride comes in Vaikuntha, but the thing is, the doormen were thinking, how can the Lord have a chivalry spirit and with whom he will fight? Because Lord will not come and fight with you or me. The Lord has to practice his fighting only with his devotees. So they had this thought process, and the Lord wanted to fulfill that thought. So that is what the Acharya is explaining.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, not that, like many times, Lord may perform pastimes to teach conditioned living entities like us. Yes, pride, false ego, these are all things that can bring us down from our present situation. It's not that those in Vaikuntha have pride and things like that.
Right.
Did
So
I answer
only if somebody is totally qualified, then only they can enter Vaikuntha, right? So it's just
Yes,
like
yes,
a pastime of the Lord for.
teaching us. Yes, Mataji.
Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Mataji.
But the Lord does fight with asuras and kills them, no? Like.
Yeah, you see that who are these two, Jaya and Vijaya? I mean, I'm sure you have heard this past time. They came as Ravana and
Yes.
Kumbhakarna. So it was these two doormen who came in those forms and fought with the Lord. So the Lord did not fight with the demon. The Lord actually fought with his own associates.
Like Prabhu, other demons like as you mentioned, Narkasura or Mura or something like those were
Yeah,
real
of course, the
demons,
Lord
right?
kills also performs pastimes of killing the demons. But many of these pastimes are to teach us some or other lesson, which there is. See, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, they are full of so many pastimes. And we must try to understand what is the importance of that particular pastime that has been performed. Like, for example, today, it is said that it's a disappearance day of Govinda Ghosh. Now, Govinda Ghosh was worshipping a deity of Radha Krishna. Now, because it is connected to today's topic, I'm narrating this pastime. So the Lord asked him to marry and become a Grihastha. He married, his wife left body, his children too, he had two sons, they also left the body. He was wondering, now what shall I do? I don't have anybody. The Lord said that, don't worry, I will take care of you. Then he asked, I don't have any money. Who will take care of my Antim Samskar? After that, my Pindadan and all those things. Lord said, I will do that. And it is said that even today, if you go to that particular place, I forgot that name of the place, in Vrindavan, where the Lord performs the Pindadan for this Govinda Ghosh once in a year. So the Lord can fulfill everything that a living entity requires. We don't have to ask for it. That is why they said that when you perform devotional service, you should not ask anything. So devotional service in its purest form is anyamilashta sunyam, without any material desire or material motivation. So the Lord gives everything to everyone, even living entities like us who don't ask us. What about his devotees? That's why the Lord says he protects his devotees. And this particular Govinda Ghosh was also an associate, or he was a Kalavati Sati in Radha Krishna pastimes. So the Lord performs mostly pastime with his associates. And then some pastimes he may perform to teach us many other things in life.
Yes, Prabhu. If Hiranyakashipu was not there, then Prahlad Maharaj would not be there.
Yes,
You wouldn't
yes,
get the example of devotion. Yes, Prabhu.
yes. Very nice
Yes.
example. Thank you for your quote.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Dandavat
Mataji.
pranam.
Dandavat, Mataji. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you are on mute.
Yeah. Can I take the class as closed if there is no other questions or comments?
Yes, Prabhuji. If there are no questions, we can end.
Sure. Anybody else? Thank you all very much. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Yes, Mataji, please.
Prabhuji, why birth, why death?
Why birth, why death?
Yes.
This is created by the Lord for us to understand that taking birth and taking death, actually in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which we'll be coming in some time, is a very deep explanation on what are the painful situations during birth and how is it at the time of death. And these are created to show to us that we should not aspire to be taking birth and death in this material world. Rather, our aspiration should be to practice devotional service and go back to our original home, which is the spiritual world. That is why birth and death are there. It is not only birth and death. It is said that the material world, all the planetary systems, all the species of life, 4 things are very common. That is birth, death, old age, and disease. I can tell you from my own experience, I never realized old age how much of a problem will it be, but I'm going through. So birth, death, old age is something that we are all going through, and these are taught to us with a particular purpose that yes, this is not the right place for us to live.
But it is not only the birth and death. In between also we struggle so much.
Yes, Mataji, that's why I said birth, death, old age, and disease. Life is nothing but struggle. Nothing comes in this material world for free. Maybe if somebody has got some pious activities, he might get some opulence, but that opulence will go away with that birth. So one should not aspire for anything material opulence, whether it is wealth or anything of that sort. Even having a good health is not a big deal if you're not able to worship the Lord. Ultimately, everything that is meant is there to be used in the service of the Lord, for His pleasure, not for our pleasure. That's what this whole sloka today is also about.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Anybody else?
Prabhuji, can I add a little if you don't mind?
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Yeah, for Mataji's question, it is a very nice question. So the main thing is we have come here out of envy of the Lord. So whatever we are doing here, we are trying to compete with the Lord, and by giving us problems, He is defeating us. So when we understand that, oh, I cannot compete with the Lord, the opposite of enviousness is love. So when we start loving the Lord instead of envying the Lord, we will be happy, and by doing seva, we will remember Him at the time of death, and then we will reach Him. That is the main reason. It is birth and death means it is just to say you have been given an instrument, and your instrument is taken away also. So don't try to compete with me in between. This is an opportunity. Human body is an opportunity, very nice opportunity. We have to utilize it. Otherwise, we will get into another 80 lakh species. So this is an opportunity. We have to see birth and death as an opportunity. That this instrument which is given is temporary, not permanent, and it will be taken away, and we will get another instrument after death. So we have to utilize to love the Lord, not to envy the Lord in this human body. That's what my understanding, Prabhuji.
Your understanding is perfect, Prabhu. In fact, just to add one more point, I narrated the example of Katunga Maharaj. He was a king of this earthly planet. So we must understand, if a king can take shelter of the Lord, why not we?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your comment. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mata.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Sindhu Mataji, is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving the opportunity.
Thank you, Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.